Welcome to the BXG podcast where pop culture and nerd culture are melded, meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as Comanche Indians and Californian vampires. I'm one of your hosts, the Alpha Donut Guy, Bretton Bestwick, alongside my co-host, the pretty little boy, Greg Filson. Greg, how are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. Now we're less than a week away from school starting up for me, so yeah, just kind of gearing up for that.
Yeah, that is coming along, isn't it?
It is
Coming along. Coming along. What changes are you going to be making to meld young minds this year?
I mean, the biggest thing, I read a book, the first days of school by Harry Wong, and recommended to me by Janie's mother, who was a teacher. And a lot of what was just implementing procedures. So I will be sending out that as an email to parents before school even starts, and then I'll have it on the desk. You know, I think the biggest thing for me last year was coming in halfway. Kids were already set on one way,
Right.
and that one way was not something I necessarily jived with. And so I think that will really help. And, you know, I just have a couple other ideas of how to make things, you know, more me and less, you know, someone else doing their thing. So,
Yeah, sure.
you know, I the biggest thing, you know, biggest change for me is just having the kids uh, understand that the more they cooperate, actually, the more they learn and the more they'll get out of it. Not anything different than that. They just want to be prepared going forward. So that is literally my job, is to make sure they're prepared going forward. And that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah.
And playing spelling basketball, because that's fun.
Spelling basketball. Is that like you spell word right, you get to?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun.
If they make it, do they have to say Kobe?
They don't have to, no.
Oh, but it's encouraged.
I don't discourage it, but yeah, that last year was a little rough. It's just hoop from like the 80s.
Yeah,
and so
you just do garbage can.
You could, but it was actually something Janie's parents had, and they just gave it to me for the classroom. And so I was nailing shots from like 30 feet. I was like at the other end of the class, and they just nail it, and they would lose their minds. So that was fun. I felt like Bob Barker when he'd make the putt on Price is Right. I was like, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Bob Barker's still alive.
Is he?
Yeah.
Boy, that's crazy. That can't be lingering on much longer.
He's 98, I believe.
Okay. Bob Barker.
Yeah, 98.
98. I'll tell you who's getting up there, and it's making me a little nervous, is James Earl Jones. He's like 92.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been old forever. Like he's been old for at least 40 years.
What's the name of that movie? Cocoon. Like everybody in that movie is like 30 something. I know not really 30 something, but they're like drastically younger than you actually think they are.
Right.
It's crazy. Oh, I think like the thing was all the women in Golden Girls were the exact same ages as the women in Sex and the City and Just Like That, the remake show, or the remake, but they were 50s. And it's just like you look at Sarah Jessica Parker at like 50 compared to like the women
Betty
that were
White.
It's like Betty hilarious. White. It's just so funny how like different people like look, and even just it's only been 30 years, and the drastic changes to, I guess, just health and wellness has done a lot.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, look at J-Lo. She's 50.
Yeah. Not caking on that cold cream lotion that actually like makes your skin all crappy looking.
Yeah.
Drink water too. That helps. There you go. I got to get myself one of those motivational gallon jugs.
I have one. I need
to get one for school.
I have one just so I don't have to buy water throughout the day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm out, like if I'm in the one place where I work, like the one location, I can just grab a bottle of water. But if I'm in the other one, I would have to buy whatever. And I just don't want to spend the money, obviously. So that's why, it's not even like a big motivational thing or whatever. It's just this is what I need so that I don't drink root beer. So
Yeah, I my biggest thing is that I don't really get like time to go use the restroom during school.
yeah.
I get very minimal breaks,
Yeah. And if you're drinking a lot,
and
that's
that's
a
scary.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you drink water, it like goes through you. So like I always
Yeah.
chug water after work, like
Yeah,
so much
sure.
water, and that's like not really the way you should drink water. Uh, and I was like, oh, why? When summer started, and I was just drinking water because it seemed like, why do I feel like better? Not just because I'm not working. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, because I'm actually drinking water like a
Right.
normal person.
Yeah.
So stay
I have
hydrated.
stay
It's
hydrated.
important.
Um, I have a query.
Okay.
What is the distance away in which you would still hold a door open for a person? Because I'm a person who, if I see you and you're probably within 25 feet, I'm going to hold it. And I get upset when people don't hold it for me, hold the door for me, just because it's the courteous thing to do. Like, I know I have standards just because I
Mhm.
want to be the polite person. But if I'm like 10 feet behind you and you don't hold the door,
Oh, well,
and you're
yeah.
a kind of a, but what's the cutoff?
I think a lot of different factors. Uh, I would say just a normal day, like a crisp, not too hot,
Autumn.
not too cold, nice
Yeah.
autumn day, an autumnal day. I think I was going to say 20 feet. So
Mhm.
25, that seems appropriate. If someone looks like they're in distress,
Yeah.
like they got some stuff, or, maybe they just look like they have a bad look on their face, like, oh, I'm just having a bad day. I might give them up to 40 feet,
Mhm.
roughly.
Mhm.
Um, I don't. I mean, when you think about it, you're looking from the batter's box to the pitching mound to the rubber,
Yeah.
60 feet, 6 inches.
6 inches?
That's not
Yeah.
really that far.
Right.
And if you're not willing to hold a door for someone half that distance, like a third of that distance, I mean,
Mhm.
that's pretty rude. I mean, there are always that time where like maybe you just didn't see a person; they were just in your blind spot or something. But I'm generally to a person when I have to open a door, like I give a glance back.
Mhm.
Uh, I get a satisfaction of holding a door for a person.
Mhm.
Uh, they're always, you don't think about it too much, but it's always nice to have someone hold it. So I would say that's appropriate, Brendan. 25 feet is good. Rainy
Mhm.
day, I might stretch it out a little bit longer just so they don't have to like stop or something. If I'm, you know, umbrellaed and they're possibly not umbrellaed.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and like if I see somebody carrying things, or like anytime somebody's
Oh
got a
yeah.
stroller or the like, because especially the stroller, because I've certainly gone through, situations where I'm pushing a stroller and people are just like, whatever, we're not going to hold the door. I'm like, wow, you're a huge dick face. So
Oh, I will do the thing where I'll like run to the door to open the door for someone too. If I see like
yeah.
that kind of thing, they're ahead
Yeah.
of me and I might just get a little sprint going
Yeah.
and
Well, I'm not sprinting.
get up there and open that door just
Yeah.
because
I'll
it's
come
like,
from behind. I'll come from behind with a slide. Like, let me get that for you.
oh sure, a little come from
Yeah.
behind slide.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll reach around.
I don't necessarily believe in karma. Karma is like adult version of Santa Claus, but it doesn't hurt you to open a door for somebody else is the way I always look at it.
Yeah. I think there's probably better versions of adult Santa Claus than Karma.
Well, I just that's just a way to look at it.
Sure.
It
Sure.
doesn't hurt anyone to believe Santa Claus is real, just like it doesn't hurt you to think karma exists. But
Right.
we don't really
Yeah.
know because we've seen a lot of crappy people succeed throughout life. So,
Indeed. We have a we're getting to that time where it's gonna get busy.
oh yeah,
And this is, we had the dog
perfect
days.
timing for when I'm back to work.
Right. We had the lull there, the summer lull for a few weeks, but this is really, I think, where things are going to drastically pick up. We had two movies this week. We're going to have, I think there's at least one movie for next week on Netflix or whatever.
Mm.
And Game of Thrones is going to, well, excuse me, I don't want to offend anyone who will comment comment on our lack of knowledge, but House of Dragons going to be starting soon. Lord of the Rings is coming right after that, obviously, She-Hulk started today as we record. Are all those? Well, we'll get into that when we get to She-Hulk, but and then a lot of other things, movies coming up,
Halloween
monsters,
movies.
Halloween
Yeah, a lot of
movies,
Halloween content.
monsters. Just looking
Wednesday.
back at Wednesday, just looking back at a lot of the trailer reactions that we've done, a lot of that stuff is going to be making its way towards the review table. I'd like to do as many reviews as we can of things that we've done trailer
A lot
reactions
of, yeah,
with.
a lot of trailers recently too, like Fast
Right,
and
a lot of
Furious
trailer,
trailers.
yeah,
Not the Fast and Furious movies, but just
right,
coming at us a lot. So
yeah, yeah,
it is that time of the year, I guess.
yeah. I mean, we're getting into fall, and we've got just looking at some of these things: Samaritan, Spirit Halloween, the movie, Pinocchio, Blonde, Day Shift. We're going to be doing here, talking about tonight. Some monsters, like we said, Lord of the Rings is coming. Some
Focus,
other
Focus 2, did you
movies,
say that?
Hocus Pocus 2 is coming. Yeah, yeah, yep. A lot of that stuff. So, but we're gonna kick things off tonight with a Netflix film, The Day Shift, or no, just Day Shift, not The Day Shift.
Just Station.
A hardworking blue collar dad who just wants to provide a good life for his quick-witted 10-year-old daughter. His mundane San Fernando Valley pool cleaning job is a front for his real source of income: hunting and killing vampires. Day Shift, starring Jamie Foxx as Bud Jablonski, Dave Franco, Carla Souza, Steve Halley, Scott Adkins, and of course the incomparable Snoop Doggy Dogg, Snoop D-O
Dog.
double G. Uh Day Shift. Greg, I'm going to tell
Okay,
you
so
something. I'm going
yeah,
to tell you something.
yeah,
This is going to be a hot take. Okay.
okay.
In terms of setting out to accomplish something, and not only delivering but exceeding expectations, this is the best Netflix movie I've ever seen.
Whew. That is, Triple Frontier is probably the only one I can think of that I like thoroughly just enjoyed the hell out of. Like in the same sense as this, having no expectations
Sure.
and going. I think actually I had some expectations maybe for this a little bit. Um, for real, no reason other than I really like Jamie Foxx and I really like Dave Franco and of course Snoop and
Right.
but you're not. I mean, it's definitely I would say top 3 for me on that. I have to go back. Like I said Triple Frontier.
Yeah, I'm looking at
That was
here's
insane, but
I haven't seen that.
pretty enjoyable.
Digital Trends has uh just here's a few: The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, My Octopus Teacher. I know you had talked about that.
Yeah,
Some of these aren't. The Atom Project was pretty good, I will say
that was
that.
pretty solid. Yeah,
But I don't but again, in terms of trying to accomplish what it's trying to accomplish and
yeah,
exceeding expectations, I think that this was the best Netflix movie I've ever seen, for in
it was
terms of
really
what it
good.
was trying to
Yeah,
do and what it accomplished.
there and before we get into spoilers, I mean, I don't really know if spoilers really entail with a movie like this, but whatever. The thing I will say is, I really like the way it looked. I know that's like when you think about movies like this, like the pop of everything. It's California. Jamie Foxx is wearing like Hawaiian shirts, which I
Right.
would love to have literally every single one of the Hawaiian shirts he owned. I'm a big Hawaiian shirt guy to begin with.
Sure.
So I really like that. I like the way that he and Dave Franco played, with each other, against each other, all that kind of stuff was really good. It felt very real in the sense of like what this job is, even though it's, obviously a ridiculous fictional job. But and then every other character that like came in mattered.
Mhm.
It didn't feel like there was a character that was like, oh, this character's just here for, you know, no reason. And everything went really quickly. I think this movie was maybe
It was
with
like
everything an hour and
40.
57 minutes with everything credits.
It wasn't even that
Uh,
long.
It was whatever it was. It was under 2 hours. Was my biggest thing was that it was under two
Yeah.
hours, and I've always said that most movies can probably be under 2 hours and accomplish what they need to do. Of course, there are movies out there that can be longer and should be longer, and that's fine because you want to get what you pay for, I guess, too, when you do that. But this was like a very nicely paced movie where
Hour
everything worked.
hour and
And
54.
okay,
Sorry.
hour
Yep.
54,
Yep.
and nothing seemed overdone or overcooked. Like there wasn't a rehashing of anything, and anything that was called back to worked. I think the biggest thing is when Dave Franco just pees his pants, and I thought that was funny. Like, and I think they made the joke 3 times, and it was like that's perfect. It was 2 times he actually did it, and then the third time is when he does it for a different reason. But I just thought everything really worked really well. Uh, I thought it was just funny enough
Mhm.
and wasn't trying to be too funny. It wasn't trying to make over the top jokes all the time and just try to keep you laughing. Had good action, especially for being a Netflix movie and not,
Mhm.
being like this, $400 billion budget or whatever, anything like that. It seemed that the plot mattered enough. I know when we saw the trailer, we were like, oh, did it have to be a family thing? But then you
Yeah.
understand why it becomes a family thing
Mhm.
because of other aspects. So it all to me really worked. And I will say I definitely didn't have low expectations. I had fair expectations for this.
Mhm.
Walked away totally, like, completely pleased. A
Mhm.
movie where the last 45 minutes, the phone was completely down. I just wanted to watch it. I was like, I really just want to enjoy watching this and take it all in. And so for me, it's hard to say like, oh, best where it was very good. I think it's pretty rewatchable too.
Mhm.
I definitely think that. I think they really did everything well. And like Snoop's cameo, just to go on that, great. It's what
Yeah.
you exactly want from Snoop. Not too much, not too little, perfect amount.
Mhm. Mhm. I think that, like you said, the aesthetic was very pleasing because it looked like I mean, you would know better than I would, obviously,
Mm.
living out there, but it looked hot. And
Yeah,
I mean temperature. Like it
it's
looked
in
like
the
it was
valley, which
hot.
is yeah, in the
Yeah.
valley's always 10 to 15 degrees warmer than
Everywhere.
actually LA proper. It's
Right.
so warm there because it's
Yeah.
just desert, nothing.
Yeah. It's so excuse me. I had a long day shift today, so I'm a little a little worse for wear. But here we are. I mean, it's 10:38 on the east, so welcome to the night shift, motherfuckers.
That's right.
I think that it looked hot. The colors popped, just like you said. The characters all blended well. I thought that there's enough plot, but in the end, it doesn't matter.
Right. Yep.
And like that's the thing is that I was kind of looking for is I just want to see some rad vampire killing. And I think that you get that from pretty much tip to tail in
Mm.
this movie. And I think the other thing is that I think Jamie Foxx is somehow underrated as an actor and overrated at the same time. I think
Sure.
he's
I think you're
overrated
right.
because he did Ray and he won an
Mm-hmm.
Oscar. And people look at him as like, oh, well, you did this, you played this amazing role and you won an Oscar for this. Why are you not doing more dramatic movies like that? And he was great in Collateral in a more
Mm-hmm.
dramatic role. But I feel like he's underrated because he can carry a movie like this in the same way that somebody like Nick Cage, who we often talk about, obviously, can carry a movie where it's just completely ridiculous. And I think that the thing that Jamie Foxx brings to the table in a movie like this is that he understands what the job is and he takes it seriously. You know what I mean? He
Right.
was not mailing this in. You know what I
Nope.
mean?
Nope.
This is like you said, it's a probably pretty low budget Netflix movie where it's a vampire comedy horror, I guess you could call it. And you have, Snoop's in it, and Franco, who's known for comedy, is in it, and he understands exactly what needs to bring to the table, and he brings that to the table. And I think that he did a really good job of making that character just believable. And despite the premise being ridiculous and the action being over the top, and like you said, the bright colors and the Hawaiian shirts, he brings a level of credibility and believability to that role as Bud
Oh yeah.
Jablonski, which just the name itself, Bud Jablonski. How many
So good.
Jablonskis do you know that are black guys in the valley? You know what I mean? Like, you could probably roll a quarter down a street in Polish Hill in Pittsburgh, and 10 Jablonskis will fall on it, but
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? Not out there. But yeah, I thought he was great. I thought Franco brought great comedic chops to his role as kind of the buttoned up, the suit basically, who's there to be his babysitter. And then obviously Snoop Dogg, he's not in a lot of things, but when he is, he's really just playing himself.
Yeah.
And I love, and if, oh, he's on my side here. He just he dressed like the Undertaker, basically, with the cowboy hat and everything. But the other thing that I felt, and we can kind of ease into spoilers here, is I felt like they left this open for a sequel. What do you think about that?
That was actually going to be my next comment, Brandon. It's like if this doesn't have a sequel, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Because, and they hit on spoilers, that was a nice touch where like Dave Franco's character becomes a vampire, but is a good vampire. And,
right.
And I thought that was a cool touch. And it was like this whole thing where like not every vampire is actually bad and out for, killing everybody. I mean, they had that thirst for blood, and that's still evident.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the main like thing. It was like, oh, there's the bad ones. It was like just like people, vampires are the good people, the good vampires, the bad vampires. They're all just trying to do this. And I thought, like, yeah, keeping Dave Franco as like still an assistant, still a at first an assistant, but then an actual like co-worker, with him is. I really thought it was genius, and I feel like they thought we have something good on our hands. We can probably spin this into two. And I think a second one would work fine. It's just going to be like, more of the same, which is, I think, perfectly fine, because this movie, like you said, there's a plot, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing here is, and we can maybe talk about these gents as well, but like weirdly, this is like ripe for a spinoff too, with the Nazarian brothers.
Yeah. Yep.
Played by Steve Howie and can't remember the other guy's name, but I mean, they show up for a scene. They're like these horrible Middle Eastern, or not Middle Eastern, but Eastern European accents.
Yeah.
It's just like they just fall
So
in and
funny.
out of the accent. It's just like, because I said, Steve Howie plays a big role on Shameless. He's one of the Kevin. He's in that
Shameless
role.
Summer.
Yeah. And yeah, with the bear. But those two, I mean, them coming in and they just lay waste to this house. But I think they left enough breadcrumbs throughout that definitely point to a sequel. The mention of like this legendary vampire in Europe, like that's what it's going to be. Is the sequel is going to be like Day Shift goes to Europe or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's
European vacation, Day Shift.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the two Nazarian brothers play a larger role, but it was funny, and it was the action was great. It was exactly, I mean, it was tropey, but also in a way that it was so campy. And it was, that's what you want from something like this. And I think that we said, one of us, I think it was I said it in the trailer reaction we did for this movie, was that this is what the Army of the Dead, or the whatever that Dave Bautista Scott Snyder movie
right
should have been.
Right.
Because you had zombies in Vegas. You could have made that as campy as hell, but they just made it like, okay, it's just gonna be action, and
It took itself too
it
seriously,
took
I think,
itself,
was
yeah,
like
it took
part of,
itself too
and
seriously.
this just didn't
Yes.
at all. And it was
No,
like
not at all.
that.
Not even a little bit.
And this is the one thing I really thought about. And we can score whatever you want to do next. But the biggest thing I really thought about was, this is one of the first times I've watched a movie that was on Netflix or any of these streaming things where it was just streaming, not the theater. And I was like, how much fun would this have been to be at a theater? It's maybe like half full.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just there because like maybe you're seeing a matinee or something like that. And everybody's going to walk out with like a smile on their face. Like, I think that was like one of those things, like, it's not the Marvel movie where like there's that anticipation. And for the most part, everyone's going to walk out loving it no matter what, just because we've been, told that we, in a way, like almost told like we're going to like, yeah. And, it's one of those things where
didn't walk out loving that one. But anyway, I digress.
And it's just like one of those things where I think like this would have been like that feel good, like, holy cow, like that was fun. It was worth like $7 matinee ticket on a Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're gonna forget about it maybe, but it was like that was the one thing I thought about. I was like, everyone's gonna have a good time. The laughs would be just enough. And it was like one of the first times that I really felt that. And it's like I've been to, a lot of just Marvel movies and not really much else other than Batman. And it was like, man, it's like I'm starting to get this transition where I was like, I kind of just want to go to the movies for other things, just for that experience of like that shared like enthusiasm. And it's like this movie is the first one to really make me feel like that. Not Marvel, not anything. It's just like,
I think some of those other movies that hit on the nostalgia piece kind of made you feel that sort of sense of togetherness, like Ghostbusters or Top Gun.
Ghostbusters, yeah,
or Top Gun.
But my thing on this is that those movies had like an expectation.
Sure.
My thing is, this is like maybe a movie you're just like going to where it's just like, I got nothing else to do, or it's like it's 98 degrees outside. Let's just sit in air conditioning and watch this. It's $7, and then like everybody's gonna walk out and be like, wow, like that was totally worth it. It's like if someone had told me I like had to pay $7 to see this in theaters, I would not have been disappointed walking out. Like, I mean, the full 15, whatever it can cost. Yeah, things get a little more ridiculous, but that's the thing. It's just like it's been a long time since I've seen a movie in a theater that, and I used to go to like movies a lot before I like actually had a job where like you could just go anytime. And it's like when we saw Nacho Libre, I think it was like a really, and that was just you and me. But which is like, but we saw it as like a matinee or whatever, and it was just, I don't know what my expectation was, other than I knew it'd be ridiculous. And I literally like fell over a chair laughing and had like a great time. And it's like, even when we saw, oh my gosh, Hellboy, like, even though that was way over the top and I wouldn't say it was good, we all left that movie in like a good mood. Like everybody was kind of in on, or Snakes on a Plane, like these kind of movies where you leave the theater.
Yes. And that's the thing that I would probably most closely compare this to.
Yeah.
Is that Snakes on a Plane vibe where it's like, we know what this is. And so we're just that's what we're going to deliver on.
You're and along for the ride. And that's cool.
Exactly.
Like, that's fine.
Yes. They did.
It's my big thing. Like not everything has to be Goodfellas, and that's okay. Right.
Yeah.
It's like totally okay. And for me, this was like a really, really good example of like, you're not Goodfellas, and I'm actually glad you were, because I enjoyed watching this in that kind of way.
We talk about Netflix movies and we say things like, oh, well, this is good for a Netflix movie. Like Extraction, I think, is a good example. Well, this is really good for a Netflix movie. Or The Gray Man, where it was like, this is fine for a Netflix movie, but it like takes itself very seriously.
Right.
Whereas this was, I think, good. I just feel like it has cult classic capabilities.
Yeah. I can see this for
you know
sure.
What I mean?
Yep.
And I think that it's like just funny enough and just endearing enough that, it's going to be a movie that 17 or 18-year-old kids find on a Sunday afternoon where they just don't have anything else going on. And they're just like, I'll watch something on Netflix. Oh, what's this thing with Snoop Dogg in it? Yeah. And it could build that following. I do think the way the theaters are now, it probably would have gotten murdered if it weren't.
Oh, it would have got murdered in the theaters for sure. Yeah.
maybe it's a
I mean, it's still Jamie Foxx.
slow time right now. Here's
Yeah.
how slow it is. Last week at the box office, Top Gun was third.
I mean, Top Gun just
It
keeps kicking. It's one of those
right.
movies too. It's just like
It's got a
and
long
nope,
tail. Yeah.
has a long tail, just like
Yeah.
a jet plane will leave.
I That was a reach. So what would you give
No, but
what would you give Day Shift out of 10?
honestly, like 8.0, like an 8,
Yeah.
a straight 8. I thought it was really entertaining. I really enjoyed it.
I would say 7.5, but Snoop Dogg with a minigun. So that's gonna
Yeah.
bump it up to an 8 for me.
Also, Snoop Dogg surviving.
No
That
sense.
was great. No sense, and I loved
With
it.
not even a scratch on him.
No, nothing.
And
And it's just like
I
that's
don't
real
need
Snoop.
I don't need an explanation.
Nope. Because
I
we'll get
don't
him in the
need
sequel.
one. I don't need one, and I don't want one.
Yep. Don't give me
And
anything.
and this is the thing, is that it speaks to how unrealistic the Fast and Furious movies are.
Yep.
Because this
No
shit happens
explanation
all
needed.
the time.
Yep.
It happens all the time there. And I love it. I'm there for
Yep.
it. But
Same.
yeah, so 8.0 Day Shift. Check it out. It's awesome. If you like action movies, if you like comedy, if you like vampire movies that aren't like too like over the top sexual Twilight stuff,
Right.
it's fun. It's a fun romp.
But there's a Twilight reference in this. Just
There is a Twilight reference. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. We are moving on. Our second movie review of the night is a Hulu exclusive, which is not one that we get a whole lot of. We don't get a lot of Hulu exclusive, really anything. Usually the things that are on Hulu come via like FX or what have you. But from 20th Century, what is it called now? 20th Century Pictures or something? 20.
that sounds right.
I know it's a 20th Century Studios, maybe. I think
20th Century
it's not 20th Century Fox.
BSG
It's 20,
Productions
no,
LLC.
no. Yeah.
Oh.
It's 20th Century Studios, but anyway, is Prey, and this is a prequel to Predator, starring Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, Dan DeLigro, who is apparently the Predator. He really killed those lines. Stormy Kip, Michelle Thrush, Julian Black, Antelope, and some others. The origin story of the Predator in the world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. Naru, a skilled warrior, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. Prey. What were your thoughts on Prey?
We're on a good episode. 2 for 2 for me on this one. I love this movie. And it was a movie where, Janie had not seen Predator, but she still wanted to watch this. I think I think a lot of it had to do with like actually having the time period and actual like native people playing the native people in the movie, all this working really well. The pacing of it, the plot of it was just super, super good. The look, I talked about this with Day Shift, but the look of it was just very cool. And it had like a vibe of, I really enjoyed the first Predator. It's a different movie. I mean, it just is. It's, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And
Carl
so that's
Weathers.
just different, but it's still, it's still actually an enjoyable movie. It's just a different kind of movie. This was more of like, it wasn't necessarily an origin story because like this seemed like a character that has just been around. And like, if you kill it, other ones still exist. Like, not to throw spoilers or anything, but there is like that idea of like, there's others that exist out there. So it was not horror, and it was
not really.
It was definitely action, but it was also just like it was probably also just like an allegory about natives having their land taken, it was probably something like that too. I didn't want to get too far into it, Prey, but it definitely was something along those lines, and that's why they used Native Americans actually in this movie, is to kind of symbolize that and to get more into it. I don't try to go too deep with things a lot of times. That's that's for someone. I mean, I was an English literature minor, but and I have done that kind of thing. But in this particular thing, I don't normally do that. But I think there
Mm.
was part of that about like, hey, things are dangerous out there. We have to move on. And this was that kind of thing, but it still showed their resilience and in her actual relentlessness to fight for her people and everything was so I think really well done. Didn't seem completely off the board, and plus the dog was super cute and was a hero. The dog is a dog up for adoption named Coco, probably already adopted now after
Yeah,
this
sure.
movie, but
For sure.
that was cool. I mean, I just really liked that the dog was a key part in it, and then while it also made sense, and it also the Predator is just a cool character. I just love that Predator has all these kind of weapons just at its disposal all the time. Can just ultimately kick all the ass in the room, but she was just able to, ultimately outsmart this character in ways that made sense. It wasn't like she did anything that was, this doesn't make any sense at all.
Mhm.
So I just thought beginning to end, really well done, captured me the entire time. Actually watched the ending twice just to like kind of experience it again because I thought it was just so well done. What did you think, Brendan?
Real quick, do you know? I can give you an example of a film who did not use Native American characters for Native American or Native American actors for Native American characters.
There's a few out there.
Yeah,
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, the lone cannibal ranger.
there he is. Yep.
Ouch.
There's there's Johnny Depp
Oh,
as Tonto.
that's so
So
bad.
there's that.
That's so bad.
Yeah, I think that so I've never seen a Predator movie, and I know
Mhm.
based on reputation that most of them are bad. Uh
The first one's okay. The rest are bad. The first
yeah,
one's
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
I will
The
say the
first
first one's
one
good.
with Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers are what is pretty well regarded as an 80s action movie.
Mm.
But the rest of them score very poorly
Oh yeah,
critically
they're not good.
on RT. All of the like the Alien versus Predator stuff and some of the different, different things that they've tried with the Predator, but looking at it from that standpoint and maybe a standpoint from historical perspective with this character, like you said, the Predator's really cool. And like,
Yeah,
even though I've never watched a Predator movie prior to this, I know like what the Predator is and what it looks like and why it's rad, these different things. And it just shows you that with the right writers, directors, actors, whatever, anything can be good again. What
yeah,
was new and then became old is new again. And I felt like this makes me lament, number one, not having watched the original, but the fact that this is a really cool IP that's just kind of been wasted over the years. You know what I mean? The last
yeah.
almost 40 years, because I know the original one was an 80s movie. And it makes you wonder, in the right hands, what could have been done with this character or this, antagonist, whatever the predator you want, whatever you want to call it. But it because it was an hour and a half long. Okay. It was
Yeah.
very short. It was very
Moves.
short. And there's no waste, there's no fat, you know what I
Yep.
mean? There's no fat here, which and it you can tell with like the CG, a little bit of the CG, it's definitely lower budget and it's a Hulu movie. You know what I mean? It's a
Right.
Hulu movie. And I couldn't tell you another Hulu movie, honestly. I couldn't tell you one. I know that they've got some decent shows,
Yeah.
Handmaid's Tale and what have you, but yeah, I mean, and this thing kind of came out of nowhere. A lot of people. It's one of those things that I think that this will be a very word of mouth
Yeah, I think
movie.
it's become that too, where it's
Yeah,
just
it
like
has.
it's
Mhm.
it's gotten really good reviews.
Mhm.
I think this was a movie where it's just like I said, Janie wanted to watch it. Like
Right.
before I even mentioned to her about us doing it for the pod,
Mhm.
because of just it popping up on whether it's, a BuzzFeed article or, just seeing good reviews of it. And for it to kind of pop like that and have that
Mhm.
kind of pop culture relevance
Right.
is says a lot about how good it actually is and
Yeah.
what it actually does. I mean, does this movie do well if it's released in theaters? Probably not. No.
No,
But
probably not.
that actually doesn't seem to be important anymore. Even we talked about like Day Shift was something where I like had that
Mhm.
dream of seeing in the theater, whatever you want to say. It's like that doesn't necessarily matter. It's more important that things like this kind of happen for these movies and give Hulu, the production on movies like a little bit of credit and be like, hey,
Mhm.
you can make a good movie. And yeah, like you said, there was some stuff there that were like a little under budgety looking,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I didn't worry about it. I was like, I don't really care about it because this movie is at least good enough to like make up for
Yeah.
the fact that this is happening.
It can yeah, I think that the protagonist in herself was her watching her struggle to be accepted was compelling enough that it overcame some of the shortcomings.
Yeah.
And to see her kind of go from the sort of like damsel in distress archetype who like a Mulan,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to be more powerful and then eventually rise to that because she really had no other choice than to do so.
Right.
Was it was a
Pressure
compelling
makes
story.
diamonds kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it was a compelling story in the sense of those sort of facets within the tale being told, but uh, there's grisly deaths, obviously. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's very gory and everything, but the bear looked a little rough, and I
Bear
think
was a
for
little rough.
whatever
Yeah.
reason that is an animal that's just very difficult to pull off
Yeah. For whatever reason.
because like even Revenant, the bear looked just like it looked comically big.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the other thing is I've never actually been face to face with a brown grizzly bear. You see black bears
They're
all the
really
time.
big.
Right.
They're very big.
Yeah. So maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But the bear looked a little rough. And I, yeah, I mean, this made me want to go back and at least probably watch the Arnold movie.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
he's such a bad actor.
It doesn't really matter in like those kind of movies though.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's different when it's there also like the movies where he's like acting, like it also doesn't matter either. That's kind of the
Right.
funny thing,
Yeah.
you
Sure.
know, and but definitely with
Well,
Predator it
like
doesn't matter.
Terminator doesn't need him to be a master thespian to work,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I was just say like a movie like Twins, you know what I mean, which
Yeah.
isn't action or anything, but he doesn't. He's supposed to be that, and that like just
Right.
kind of works playing against that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's just this movie. The actual end story maximizes everything out of it and makes
Yeah.
you care about it. It's like the sum of it, the parts are not as good as the sum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think works for it in a lot of different ways. It doesn't, nail everything perfectly the way it looks in the sense of like CGI, but I mean, it still looks cool with like the
Mm-hmm.
darkness, but you can still see everything that like, it wasn't so dark you couldn't see anything. But then just impending doom until it wasn't impending doom, but there's
Yeah.
still impending doom.
Right.
Even in victory, there's still impending doom.
I thought that they also did a very good job of I'm a firm believer in scarcity builds suspense, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that was they did a good job of not showing too much
Right.
before they needed to of the Predator.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, the original Predator movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, and of course the incomparable Jesse the Body Ventura,
That's right.
1987 is a critical 80 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
And Predator 2, 1990, starring Danny Glover, Gary Busey and Ruben Blades is a 32. So it's a pretty
I
steep
don't even know if I've
drop
actually
off.
seen Predator 2, to be honest.
I
If I did, I filtered it out of my memory.
I'm a big Gary Busey being crazy fan, but not
Sure.
like him actually like as an actor. Although didn't he win an Oscar? Like was nominated for an Oscar?
I think he's probably been nominated, but I don't know if he's won.
2018, The Predator, 33, Alien Predator, 2018. It's not even rated or not even scored. I feel like they should be. Oh, what's a franchise? Yeah, okay. Predator. Here we go. Here's all the RT scores. Prey 93, The Predator. This is in reverse chronological order. The Predator 33, Predators 65, Alien versus Predator Requiem 12. Alien versus Predator 22. Predator 2 32, Predator 80. Yeah. I saw a tweet that this should be the archetype for all horror movies now. Like all horror movies with like a fantastical element, not like a slasher movie.
Sure.
But like
Right.
take the xenomorph from Aliens and drop it into feudal Japan. Just see what the
There
fuck
you
happens.
go. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that works quite as well. Because I do
Probably
think that
not,
there
but
was an underlying sort of tale to be
message.
told.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But you know, let the Greeks and Romans open the Pinhead, the Hellraiser, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
That box or whatever.
Hellraiser. Yeah.
Freddy Krueger is actually Jack the Ripper. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. So what would you give this?
I mean, scoring high today. I feel like I'm doing pizza reviews. 8. I give it another 8. I really just really enjoyed it. Like, yeah, I think like some of the flaws take it away from being slightly better. But I really like I said, I watched the ending twice because I really enjoyed it, and I just thought this is something we don't see that often. A movie like this works so well, and I think that really helped.
Yeah, I think it's 7.5 for me.
Okay.
And I think it was just maybe a little bit more storytelling could have been used. It was short and there wasn't any wasted time on screen, but this is the rare movie where like another scene to flesh things out a little bit
maybe
more.
like 7 more minutes or something.
I was even just gonna say like 5, like another 5-minute scene to maybe go into her backstory a little bit of being more of a, I don't know, tomboy, I guess, or wanting to be one of the hunter warriors type people. Yeah. So, yeah, cool. Prey on Hulu from 20th Century Studios. So that's a Disney. This is a Disney thing now, I guess. Did Disney do this? I mean, Disney owns Hulu, I think.
I mean, what don't they own? I don't. It's hard to know.
Warner Brothers. They don't own
Warner Brothers.
Yet. Yeah. All right. So finally, we wrap things up tonight or today, whenever you're listening. It doesn't have to be time specific. You don't have to listen when we record. It can be whenever. Listen to it when you want. Maybe it's on your drive time to work. So finally this morning or this afternoon, maybe even this evening, we have the review for the series season premiere of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, with special guest star Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner and Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters. Which is weird to me. Like the whole Jennifer Walters thing's weird to me because all I can think of is Jessica Walters from like Arrested Development.
When
I hear that name. But yeah, so season 1, a normal amount, or season 1, episode 1, a normal amount of rage. Jessica Walters, see, I just did it again.
Yeah.
Jen Walters' world is turned upside down after a freak accident leaves her with superpowers. And so she is She-Hulk attorney at law now. Thoughts?
Uh, I enjoyed it. I will say, like, it was different than I was expecting. It wasn't. I mean, it was one of those shows where like it was a totally like basically just giving you the story behind everything. So I don't know if there's a ton to really say. And I
Right.
didn't look at Easter eggs or anything quite yet. Cause I literally watched it today and did this, and so it's I'll be interested to see what direction it goes and how it plays into everything else. Having Bruce in it was fun, and I thought like the little trip to Mexico idea was like a good idea to like get her like accustomed to being a Hulk. Uh, them having like kind of that back and forth was fun to me. Uh, it, the idea that she can control it to some degree. I at first I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then I kind of don't like it now. Like the more I thought about it, like it more of like Hulk can't control it and Bruce can't really control it. That was, he made the device and then the device didn't really work. And the thing I did actually enjoy about this was the callbacks to like Tony and Steve.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that, and it's like I probably just because I'm a sucker for those older movies, and like all of us, and so I really enjoyed that. But I thought I know it's getting really good reviews, and I don't know like how far advanced like people that are in the industry get to truly watch this. I mean, we're in the industry, but nobody sends us anything in advance. But I'll be interested to see where they go. Like they end the show with her, saving the courtroom by turning into the Hulk, She-Hulk, and then does her thing.
Yeah,
she breaks the fourth wall every once in a while. It's a little rough.
I don't like that.
In the comic book, I know that the comic book she does that, and that's fine because it's a comic book. But if you're gonna break the fourth wall, it has to be done like it honestly like has to be done like a Deadpool way, where like none of this is supposed to be serious anyhow. And I know that they're trying to kind of go that direction with this, where it's not totally serious, but it's still
it's still in the MCU.
It's still in the MCU, so there's always like this weird thing about like I don't know. It didn't like the first time she breaks the fourth wall. I was just like I knew this was going to happen, and I was like, it's not my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah,
and I don't think the show needs it, even though they do it in the comic books. Doesn't mean you have to do it. And like there's a lot of things that happen in the comic books that don't happen in the movies or the TV shows, and for good or bad reasons. Just like I think it's one of those things where I don't think it's necessary. It's one of those things where I like her as like the actress is fine and she like does what she's supposed to. I just don't know. I think the biggest thing for me is I don't know why this needs to happen, and also where is it going? And I think that's hopefully questions will be answered. I don't know, but certainly to me nothing was gained. Even though I will say I like this show as its own standalone thing, and but we're not in a standalone culture with Marvel now. This
well,
in the sense of
we
like
can be because we saw that with Moon Knight.
Yeah, we could be, but Moon Knight. The thing was, Moon Knight had no connection to anything else.
Right.
This has connection to Bruce. It's like that's the thing, and it's so it feels like they want to connect it, but they also don't. I don't know. So I'll just be interested to see what they do. And this show could end up being great. I mean, I honestly have no idea because I don't think that first episode led us in one direction or the other. I mean, if it's like a courtroom drama or a courtroom kind of show, like I'm down for that. I actually really like that idea. And if it actually sticks to a lot of that and not a lot of other things, I think the show could really work. But I don't know if they really know what direction they're even going with it, because I thought this first episode was only like 30 some minutes long.
Yeah.
And 37 with credits, and it had an end credit scene that I actually really like the end credit scene, but it felt like it was two different episodes in one episode, and that was a little weird to me.
So I haven't done this in a while, and we should have done this with probably Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, some of the other characters that we did for when we did our Marvel in review when we broke down each character. She-Hulk's first comic appearance was in 1980 in issue 1 of the Savage She-Hulk, and she has um, several partnerships, abilities, and team affiliations throughout the years. But um, yeah, I that's just for those interested. But
Sure.
I don't, I don't know where I'm kind of at with this right now. I think it's kind of too early to tell. I like I enjoyed the episode, but I think so much of enjoying the episode was because of the nostalgia piece, because of Bruce and
Sure.
Ruffalo. Kind of in the same way that Hawkeye really hit those notes for I know both of us. It just felt in all those, like you said, all those callbacks. And then I had a I had a moment when it ends, and if you're watching on Disney Plus, it ends and then it recommends you the next thing. And it recommended me Infinity War, and I was like, oh God, that was good.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
And I don't like the fourth wall thing. I don't like how, like, what direction that's going in. I almost feel as though they have to resolve that by the end of the show to show that she's not actually breaking the fourth wall, but that it's like a contained thing within, because it's an MCU thing. And it's like, well, we have one character breaking the fourth wall with She-Hulk. Well, why don't they all understand that,
Right,
then
right.
break the fourth wall? And so I feel like I feel like with Deadpool that you make the Deadpool movies as you do. And if you want to bring Deadpool into the MCU, you do it in some kind of a way where Stan Lee cameos are now Deadpool cameos, or something to
Sure.
that effect, where he can break the fourth wall but nobody else can. And it's just one of those things, because I don't like that when you have an established. This is what I don't like about it is we are I forget how much we said with phase 4 when Miss Marvel was over, but 40 plus hours of phase 4 plus however many previous hours phases 1 through 3. The rules of this universe are established, and now they're breaking them. They're breaking their own rules.
Right.
And I'm not talking about like multiverse or whatever. I'm talking about the
Mm.
way that these shows are presented, or the way these movies are presented and shot. These are the rules of this universe. That'd be like, it would be like on Fast 10 if Vin Diesel started just yucking it up with the camera. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work for me in that way. As far as the actual story, I like that it was just her accident where she becomes a She-Hulk is basic, and they didn't spend too much time on that.
Right.
And as far as the characters themselves, I hate to, or maybe not hate to, but I have to admit that I'm oddly attracted to She-Hulk. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's the legs. But I'm 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 fine with it. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
And I I feel like this is all we're gonna see of Bruce. Like, that's how it felt.
Yeah, special guest appearance,
Special
and that's
guest
it. Yeah.
appearance, and then he's just gone.
Yeah.
And maybe he comes back later, because we know Emil Blonsky's good. The Abomination's going to be around, and we know Daredevil's going to pop up somewhere in the show. So, but I feel like this is all we're going to see of Bruce,
I do too. Yeah.
and that's kind of a bummer.
Right. Because
So,
the rapport was good. Like I mean, Ruffalo's so good as Bruce. It's
yeah,
very funny, and he does everything really well. And yeah, and it was just it, like I said, and it's too early to judge it one way or
yeah,
the other. We're one episode in, and it was really just like, here's a character that a lot of you maybe have seen before, but really
right,
know nothing about. So
yeah, 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 yeah. I don't really think we rate individual episodes, but we'll
no,
see what happened next week. I wonder why they made the change to make this a Thursday thing. Because
threw
I
us
was,
both off. Yeah,
yeah, well, because when I checked the schedule, they're all Thursdays.
yep, they're all Thursdays.
Well, that's maybe because when does Andor start? I mean, I know we were talking about
Yeah,
being
Andor.
busy. Andor's coming, and it's like 13 episodes or something like that. She-Hulk is 9, Andor is 12, and it starts on September 21st. So there's still like a month.
A little bit of time.
Yeah, there's 3 episodes on the first thing of Andor. That's gonna be
A lot.
it's gonna be
Tough.
a fucking mini series just off the bat.
And some
All right.
dove just to start off.
Let's do. I got a quick. Let me give you some this or that's. And we're gonna relate them
Okay.
to. We will relate them to She-Hulk.
Sounds good.
She-Hulk, and you can take this however you want it. Comic, movies, whatever.
Okay.
However you wanna roll that. She-Hulk or Hulk?
Hulk.
I'm gonna say She-Hulk. She's got those legs. She-Hulk or Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman.
That's kind of off the cuff, right? She-Hulk or Daredevil? Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she's.
Gal Gadot.
Well, if we're calling it the classic movie thing, then yeah, I think that's the answer. But if it's a comic book thing, I actually might say She-Hulk because I don't really like Wonder Woman in the comics.
I think the thing is too is like Wonder Woman's so culturally significant. I think that's probably like part of it too for me. Like she's just
She's
there.
got more panache.
Yeah, exactly.
She-Hulk, Daredevil.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, I'm not a big Daredevil guy.
No.
Maybe that turns around. I'm
It
curious.
could. It could.
I need to know if the new Daredevil Reborn or whatever it's called is going to the old seasons are going to be canon because I never watched any of those.
Yeah, I never watched any of those.
If I have to watch those to catch up, I might just quit. So, She-Hulk or Juggernaut?
Juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. She-Hulk or Captain Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
She kind of looks. I'm not gonna lie. The image right over your shoulder there. She kind of looks like if Katy Perry were green.
Yeah.
A little bit.
The actress was in Parks and Rec. I was like, where have I seen? I know she's been in other things, but she was in Parks and Rec. And that made me happy. Yeah.
Okay. She-Hulk versus Star Fox, or I'm not sorry, not versus, or She-Hulk or Star Fox from the video game Star Fox.
Star Fox.
No, that's not wrong.
I'm just being funny.
That's
no, I know
that's a terrible answer.
That was just hilarious that you brought up Star Fox.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna try to incorporate this. Our friend Ty gave me this website. It's called answerthepublic.com. You heard of this?
I have not heard of
Okay,
this.
so it's like a program. It's like a program that you can enter in like a search query and it'll give you things that are searched for with that. So like She-Hulk, I did She-Hulk and it gives you like questions, for example, can She-Hulk turn human? How did She-Hulk get her powers? When does She-Hulk release in India? Why is She-Hulk CGI so bad? I think that was just a trailer thing. I didn't think the CGI was too bad. Then it gives you like other things like prepositions, She-Hulk, what can She-Hulk do, whatever, and then comparisons, and there was or, and so I just went with the this or that's from that column.
The Star Fox is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was
doesn't
like the
make
10th
any
one.
sense.
Doesn't make sense. Is there a Marvel character that's Star Fox?
Maybe.
Isn't that what was
it could be.
Marvel Star Fox? Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the dude. It's the Harry Styles character.
Oh, that's
Harry
right.
Styles.
That is. Yeah.
Arrows.
Yeah.
Also known as Star.
I'm going
to say this though. For the purpose of this exercise, we're going to leave it as Nintendo Star Fox.
Yeah. It's because like I don't, I didn't know who that character was until Harry Styles popped on the screen. You have to look it up. So, yeah.
Media recommendations.
Okay, so How I
Met Your Mother. You've been watching How I Met Your Mother.
How I Live New. How I Live Now. I'm sorry. How I Live Now. That has Saoirse Ronan in it. and it has they're both young. Tom Holland also in it, very young. I think they're probably like 13, 14 years old in these movies. In this movie, really good, like way better than expected. We just watched it because we were like, we want to watch something, we don't have to think too much about it, and it's very good. It's definitely intense for what it is. But How I Live Now, Saoirse Ronan's the main star of that. Flight, had never seen that before. It's this Denzel movie where he lands the plane, but
I remember that one.
That movie's crazy.
He's drunk or something.
He's drunk and all kinds of things. And I just started the book. I talked a lot about it, but Work Won't Love You Back. Just an interesting book. The title's not necessarily misleading, but it's basically people telling their stories about the way that jobs work and, all these kind of things. The biggest thing I've kind of gone through is, I think this was the last chapter I go, is there's a whole idea of like, the idea of liking your job but also getting paid are two things that don't really work in the scheme of American workforce in general, but particularly in America. And I thought that was interesting. It has its flaws like anything, but I would recommend that, just to kind of get a storytelling from other people in their jobs and things like that. What about you, Brent?
I don't have really anything of note. Just kind of I've been working a lot and doing a lot of the video production, so I haven't been doing a lot.
My recommendations will dwindle down on the reading end here soon, since I'll be back to school, so that'll be a bummer. But
the BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific, and 4 a.m. Hawaiian.
Aloha.
On podcast services around the globe: Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever podcasts are sold or not sold. I think they give them away for free.
They do. I mean,
ironically,
you could whatever do the thing or pay for it, but like a Patreon thing or whatever. But we won't do that
yet.
Follow
us on social media at BXG Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, at GT Phils on Instagram, at Alpha Donut Guy on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/BXG Podcast, YouTube channel, which we're getting closer to the giveaway, $25 gift card, Amazon for Jeff Bezos's dick rocket model. You can buy that if you want, or you can buy whatever, buy dog food. We don't care. But just make sure you make your subscription public, or else you cannot be entered in the drawing, because we can't draw your name if we don't know what it is. Tell your friends, tell your families,
tell your mothers.
If they don't want to take a blessings to the BXG podcast. Take care, friends. Watch Day Shift.
Yeah, watch Day Shift for sure.
That's my
BXG Productions LLC worldwide.
Wow.